Hello there, welcome to Corvid Quest & Go. My name is MK, and today we are back on the NeoCraft server. I have made a ton of progress, and I have some things I need to show you. The first and biggest change is that I have actually finished the foundation and the terrain around it, and I am honestly pretty happy with it, which means I can get started on the library at any time in the near future, and I think I just might, but not this time. As you can see, I have filled in the floor, as well as adding in a giant floral design right here in the center of the library. That'll come in handy later. And this part took a bit. I built staircases that actually let you get down to the valley below. It did take a little bit of trial and error to get them the way I like them, but I actually really love how they kind of integrate into the terrain now. And I refaced the terrain itself, added some grass, some actual grass and flowers and trees. And then I also added in some variations that kind of give it a bit more of a sedimentary look. There's a few, it's not just that one. It's just a little harder to see it from this. I could go back in and do more. I do like the detail. I do think a little bit more could work. But from down here, it's a little hard to see with all of the trees everywhere. But I do really like the way it turned out. I might do a little bit more detailing, maybe making some more overhangs instead of just having it all go up and in. Have some of it kind of like pouring out over the edge a little bit. But I do really like the way it turned out. Again, if you look at the actual base, like, let me go into free cam. There are stairs that go down the middle, down the right side, and also one back here that goes down the left side as well. So it is accessible from multiple points, and then obviously they all funnel up to the ones that go up to the entrance right up here. So, excited about that. I've been doing a lot of build testing, and I finally have a version of the library that I really like. It took me a bit to figure out what I was trying to do. Turns out, Renaissance-era Italian architecture? Like, if you were to look up the St. Peter's Basilica, it is weirdly similar to that, and I didn't even know that building existed until I found it when I looked that up. So, fun times. And of course, for any large build, you're gonna need a ton of materials, and well, thanks to Zero, I am perfectly well set on diorites. I have about 83,500 blocks of diorite. I'm not using pure diorite. This is the block I'm actually going to be using. It just happens to be a variant of diorite. Which also means I have a ton of diorite because I've been given way too much. So naturally, I've been using it as a temporary block as I figure out my starter base. I also have a ton of glass that I've already made. These are essentially the equivalent of 9 stacks. I also was originally going to make the roof and details out of Viridium, which I collected a bit of, but according to my test builds, that's nowhere near enough. So, also because someone else needed sea lanterns on the server, I have also made a guardian farm that was very productive. And I have a lot of dark prismarine. I need to make a little bit more, I think. I kind of want to just fill that backpack up, and then I will feel secure that I have enough. Naturally, that also meant I ended up with a lot of cod, and now that is not anywhere near as much as I got because I made a shop. As we can see, rounding the curve to go to spawn, there's a new shop that looks a little bit like a food truck. Now, I used the graffiti from immersive paintings to essentially just put a giant image of cod on the side of the truck. I was gonna maybe try to make something on the side, but that was just a lot easier, and I think I really like the way it looks, but this is the first time I've ever tried to build a vehicle, and I think it turned out so cute. And I also have several barrels of both cooked cod and raw cod And yeah, I'm selling it for pretty cheap. And in here we have Todd. Where'd he go? This workbox should be in the middle. Where? Hello? I think he's in the front of the... He's just hanging out in the front. It might be a little early in the day for him to be trying to work, so maybe that's why we're not seeing him. But yeah, I have usually not been around food trucks that much, but in the region we live in now, they're actually really common, and I thought this would be a really cute way to have just a quick little pop-up shop that doesn't really feel like a pop-up shop. Even have the generator on the back as well as the tail lights. And on the front, I have the headlights, the grill, and Zero added a plaque so that I have a license plate. And see if we can catch Todd. Why is he named Villager? Hold on. Todd's supposed to be name tag. Maybe that broke. So what is he doing back there? And one of the nice things about Todd being in here is that he can cook the cod for you. This is not Todd. I specifically made sure that trade was not in here. So I think someone replaced Todd. That's not Todd. I don't know who this guy is, but he is not... That is not my villager. Someone replaced my villager. I name tag my villagers. I know that's not him. What? Who are you? And then as far as things like farms go, obviously I have the Guardian farm, which is quite a ways out. I didn't want it to be too close to spawn so it'd be a little more effective. And then I also yesterday made a froglight farm that actually works pretty well. These froglights, it's not light that's blocking them from spawning, it's the position, which is why they're on pistons. So if I were to go and push the button that is right on the inside of that window right there, they would raise up and these would start spawning. And in here is where I'm gonna put a storage room. I'm not entirely sold on the mud bricks as a floor yet, but I have some things to put in here. I've been playing around with customizing those. But yeah, if I were to press this button here, it would automatically... They almost always start off by spawning immediately because it's been waiting for a while, but all I have to do is just stand right here, right inside my storage room, and they will go into the powdered snow, start breaking themselves down. There is also a iron golem over here that is supposed to essentially lure them over here so they don't stay on the glass if they don't fall through. And then if they do fall through, they get eaten by the frogs. This has already produced like 2,000 of each color. And I think I AFK'd it like maybe 2 hours while I was busy. If I pop down here, this is where the collection comes out. That is supposed to be over here. They're still going through, so a couple more are gonna come in. It does also produce some magma green, which is good because I also wanted to make a potion shop at some point. I promise all of this talk of farms and shops is not because I'm trying to become like the richest player on the server. I just really enjoy making farms, and now at least other people can use them too. And I can maybe get a little bit of funding for materials for other farms. Maybe. I don't know yet. I found that especially with these mobs, I really do enjoy making farms. I like looking into the mechanics and then figuring out how I can use that to produce more things. And I've accidentally turned into that one player on a server that makes a ton of farms. So, I'm fine with that. Now you may look at this and think that's a lot of diorite, but, I mean, obviously I have good reasons. But it also looks a little different here. And you may notice that that goes deeper, and even that one goes much deeper. And that is because I have dug out a lot of space for all of the farms and things I want to put in my starter base. I even found a geode while I was doing this. That was in the wall over here. And then another one was nearby, so I went ahead and got access to that as well. It's really dark through here. I'm bad, I don't light things up sometimes. But yeah, there's one in here as well. And you may notice there's no amethyst buds or anything. Yeah, I spent, I don't know how long, probably most of a day, using Create to make them into one giant block. This is for storage purposes. I don't know where this farm is gonna go or how I'm gonna make it. But for now, it's kind of nice just to come over here and grab some amethyst. I am gonna separate them. I think there's about 80, I think it's 86? Yeah, 86 budding amethyst right here. I can't actually pick them up, which is the only reason they're not in storage. They're just kind of hanging out here. They are all glued together, which is... The process of doing this was actually very tedious. But I am glad I did it, because now I have access to as much amethyst as I want, and I can move it around so that I can eventually start splitting it up and turning it into a proper farm that is actually automated. One of the things I really like about my base location is that I believe certain chunks of it are actually in the spawn chunks, or at the very least it's close enough to spawn that it is loaded quite a bit at the time. As you can see, I have to deal with Enderman blocks constantly. That's maybe one of the downsides, but aside from that, there's not really any downsides. I also, for the record, did not do this with a pickaxe. I did it with Create. I'm not that much of a grindy player. I did use drills to do this. It did take several hours, but I did not use a pickaxe to do this. Now, if I have to dig out any more, I might just use a pickaxe, because that might be easier, but I didn't for this. Oh yeah, isn't there a way out here as well? Oh yeah, because this is where I want to put my reception desk. As for the starter base, I am also going to need to rework my storage system. It's not that it doesn't have enough room. I can always make the barrels bigger if I need to. The issue is, the way I have it set up, I have not actually been putting stuff away. Now this right here is my dump chest. As you can see, there are backpacks inside of it. My dump chest is essentially a hidden chest monster because all of these are full of random items. And I have to constantly search through these to find things I need. Because for some reason I have given up on putting things away. Thankfully, storage drawers does have a way I can probably get around that so that I can just like place a backpack down when I'm done with it and it will drain it and put it back into the storage system for me. That just is something I need to set up. So this particular storage room is definitely not gonna stay. Obviously, I do have a much bigger space down there. This was always temporary anyway. So it's just, I've already outgrown it. We're a month in and I've already outgrown my storage room. And then back here, I had frogs back here, but obviously they are now in the farm. I've got my flower farm that I use to duplicate flowers with the universal bone meal mod that we have. And then I have one for specifically botania flowers that I use for making dye because I have a lot of that. Obviously my smelter, my steam engine, which is not the most efficient, but it works. My double crusher, which I'm honestly pretty proud of because the actual mechanics behind this are not super complicated. This is actually really easy to set up. And then I also have some chickens. And of course some allays. They did have eggs, but I got tired of getting eggs tossed at me every time I come back here. Also have some of the other chickens. Can you get out of my way, please? I also have horses back here because we had a horse race not too long ago. I made the track and that was a lot of fun. This was my guy. He's not the fastest, but he got me to the end in last place. He's cool though. And then back here we have the wall of projects. Because yes, I like to keep busy in this game. So obviously there are a couple things I have done, like the Froglight farm and the Prismarine farm, but there are a lot of things I want to try to fit in underneath the base. Obviously not all of them can be put under the base, like the Prismarine farm can't, the Gunpowder farm can't, but most things can. So I'm going to try to see how much I can fit under here. While keeping it from being too laggy, I'm gonna make sure I have a control room where I can turn things off remotely, but everything is going to have a toggleable, like, off switch, because I just prefer doing that anyway. I always make sure I can turn things off just to, essentially, just to save on resources, but also in the case of create, that way I can have, you know, multiple things on the same line without having to worry about if they're overstressing it, without having to make that too super big and bulky. And I can't think of the term for it, but yeah, I don't really want to have to invest in this much more. But yeah, I have a lot of plans that I can't even get to yet because I forgot that that was going to do that. I really want to get started on the library. I need my base to not just be a giant, big, flat area. I might wait on the greenhouse because I haven't really figured out the details of that yet. But yeah, hopefully next time you see me, I should be actually building the library that I keep talking about. I promise it's coming. This is not the end all for my base. I promise. I promise. Anyway. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you being here. I know I didn't really do much, but I wanted to get everything caught up before I move on too far. If you enjoyed this, feel free to follow along. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave that down in the comments. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye! They look a little more squared up this morning. Oh, yeah, no. The issue still stands. Nope, that's the group right there. Okay. Did I actually break up the cluster? I think I finally did. There we go. Wait, was that more than one? That was a... I've been tricked. Wait, no. Okay. Well, they broke apart a little bit. Ooh, that might not be. No, there's multiple in that one. Okay. You're separated, though. Come on, separate. Okay, that's still not just one, but these two got separated. What is with the physics in this game? There aren't a lot of physics because there is no gravity. But what is with the physics in this game? The few we have. Well, they broke. How many? Okay. There's a lot there. One of the reasons I haven't really been sharing a lot of what I've been doing is I've been dealing with a lot of bad migraines lately. We're trying to get it figured out. It's just taking a while. I have found some things that help. I have found certain things that specifically cause them. It's a learning process, but I'm getting there.